There is what I think of as kind of a beautiful moment when the wall drawings are painted over. It's destructive, it's a kind of death, but it's also, I find it to be kind of funny. To develop photographic material for this show, we set up a very simple photo shoot with simple props and ask people from the local Manchester area to act out ideas of labor. So pulling, hefting, tugging, shifting, lifting, etc. And this is just a really cool experience because you get people involved in this earlier phase of the project where they are wondering why in the world we're doing what we're doing. And if I have to sit down with a 10-year-old and say, this is why you're going to be holding this exercise ball up in the air, it's going to look like it's an enormous 2,000-pound stone or something like that, then I have to explain to them why we're doing that. And that's really humbling because often I don't actually know why we're doing it yet. I'm still figuring it out. Once the photography is built, I start moving into Photoshop editing and I build mock-ups related to the space. I have an interest in looking back at historical narratives and finding my own way to kind of mine them for fictional reinterpretations. And Manchester's history, really rich history in terms of the mills and all the different ways that the city has changed over time, seemed like a unique opportunity to build a project that was in conversation with history and particularly in relationship to work and labor. Tools are so much of the way in which we find out about the past. And so when I put tools up on this wall and have people depicted hauling them around, carrying them, etc., I kind of think about the tools as a way to talk about those that have come before and all these people that have labored in Manchester. The thing that was happening simultaneous to all of that is that I was building this sculpture with Mick Billingsley, who is a fellow artist that I collaborate with frequently. Mick starts building the spindles that this 52-foot long drawing of rope will sit on and working on how to motorize them. But it's a complicated piece because it won't actually be built until it's in the gallery. And then we will seam the drawing together into a loop and then we will see if it works. And then we move to this final stage, which is projecting those mock-ups and then starting to execute them. Myself and assistants work with Sharpie pen across about 150 feet of wall. I'm so glad that so many of my former students are on this project, and I'm really happy to have a broad swath of assistants and collaborators, not all of whom are Tufts or SMFA related, but if you get that right connection of people and ideas together, the end result is really satisfying and cool. My hope is that these figures will be doing things that seem kind of above and beyond what is possible, so their physical efforts will seem perhaps heroic, but they're going to be doing things that might look a little absurd, and that might make them look foolish. So I suppose what I'm trying to do is kind of leave a big question mark on the wall as to where these people are going and what they might be hauling these things for in the end. So I'm both hoping to celebrate that effort because if you look back at the history of Manchester, hundreds of thousands of people coming to the city from all walks of life and parts of the world to find a job. And so much effort put into these positions to have a livelihood. And yet most of it's forgotten and people pass and the history passes too. So there's that side of it. There's a kind of memorialization and loss and history of that effort. But then there's also this conversation about something maybe closer to the American dream, all wrapped up in the complication of what it means to work hard or what it means to have skill, what it means to refine a craft. And I think those things are important, but I also think it's kind of behooves us to ask questions about why they're important, who told us they're important, and how are we learning these kinds of things. We have this idea in this country that you have to work hard to get ahead, and you're supposed to put in crazy amounts of hours and not take vacation, and if you do so, you will somehow be upwardly mobile. I don't actually think that that's usually true. I think most people work really hard and don't get a lot of pay, or maybe a lot of thanks for it. The payback is not maybe what the kind of romantic idea of the American dream tells us it should be. I'm totally part of that problem where I do believe when I go into the studio, rightly or wrongly, that I'm supposed to work too hard and work forever and ever and ever, and somehow that's going to solve all problems. And I guess in a way, I kind of hope that the joke is on me because I am making an enormous piece that will be destroyed. So part of what I'm trying to get to in this show is this idea, this kind of question, like, is it really worth it to put in all this work?